Will I be the astronaut if I told my wife to get off her phone and take care of the baby?
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger!
The title basically says it all, but to add some detail, we have an 11-month-old. I work full-time. My wife stays home indefinitely taking care of the baby. That was a mutually agreed upon arrangement that couldn't work out any other way, as her income would have been less than half of mine. I would love to stay home if that were feasible. My wife seems to have a common phone addiction these days, where she will be glued to the screen for hours, either watching reels, videos, or messaging or exchanging audio messages with friends, or watching a live stream by some dickhead named Dusty Thunder. What the I'm just kidding. That last line isn't there. The last part of it is, or messaging or exchanging audio messages with friends. I have no problem with that. I'm on my phone often myself. It is what it is. That's the way most of us decompress in 2025, but I do see the difference in our ability to snap out of it. I'm on my phone in my downtime and I can drop it at a moment's notice. For example, because the baby crawled to me or there is something to do, my wife, on the other hand, tunes out completely and doesn't see or hear anything around her. I also tend to pick up my phone when work is done, the house is clean, and the baby is asleep, while she is on it in the middle of things, as we are going somewhere, getting ready, cleaning, putting the baby to sleep, etc. She is also on her phone a lot when I'm leaving for work, and it's actually time to be actively engaged with the baby, to the point where the baby might be crawling after me as I'm closing the door or running to me as I come back, which is stressing me out a lot. I also notice it a lot when I'm driving and my wife is in the back seat on baby duty, but actually completely ignoring any crying or screaming, again, to the point that I have to reach back and give a pacifier or sing a song to get the baby to calm down as I drive. She gets very defensive whenever that's brought up, either turning it into a, well, you're using your phone as well, or, well, that's for work, because she does some side projects online, which is fair, but the amount of time she spends and the money it brings is nowhere close to making it worth it, nor is it actually taking most of her time on the phone. Will I be the astronaut for calling it out and saying that she needs to at least put in 8 hours of phone-free baby time every day, and then we can split the evenings? There's an update. Before we get into the update, let's chat about this for just a second.
Was this an issue before the baby that he noticed?
That's a good question.
That would be my first question. But I mean, I understand what he's saying and I understand his side a little bit, but I do feel like the money part that he keeps bringing up, like, I don't know, there's something about it that bothers me, like him saying like her job wasn't worth it. And so like she was forced to stay home, but I would love to stay home, but I'm the one who brings home all the money. And I understand that. But for me personally, staying home with the kids is different because there's multiple of us. But when I was home alone with the baby, like that was a hard place for me because I craved, I missed my job and I missed that adult interaction. And so it is easier to feel depressed if that is a hard place for you. And I'm not going to feel shame for saying that that's a hard place for me to be. And so now I work part-time and I get to have the best of both worlds and it fills my cup and it makes me a better mom. And maybe that is her issue. And maybe that is why to me, spending so much time on your phone like that, where you're tuning stuff out, feels like a depression issue. And I'm not going to shame her for that. So before I move forward, I need to hear the update.
Agreed. But also I think I agree with everything that you've said here. It is a potential sign of a depression thing. It is a potential sign of needing adult interaction and feeling like she's losing herself as only a caregiver, which is really common to do. The problem I have with hubby's approach right now, which, by the way, hubby, I understand, like he probably had a similar switch flip to what I had whenever Navy Thunder was born. And that was, oh shit, this little goo is completely defenseless. And it's my job to make sure that she's safe all the time, and is in this like helicopter thinking, like just high alert all the time. So he's thinking about like baby's safety and baby being cared for and somebody being there staring at the baby all the time. I understand that being the driver inside of you, right? But you are not going to be able to berate or punish someone into doing things the way that you want them to do it. Let's address that right now. You are not going to be able to do that here. Instead, if you start thinking about things solution focused, like what could you do to help? What could you do to make her feel less alone? If that's the driver here, take the time to figure out what the it is, first of all, that's causing the thing that you have a problem with, and actually address that, not with berating, not with telling her she has to fix things or putting in an 8-hour shift of phone-free time. Definitely do not recommend saying those words, but actually think about a solution. Put a solution in place that makes it easier for her to feel like she has adult interaction and do the things that you feel like are important without there being a collision. It is entirely possible.
I'm at a loss for this one because I understand why he's feeling the way he's feeling, but I also understand where she's at as a mom, especially if she's a first-time mom. That's a lonely spot to be in. And you guys know how I feel about postpartum and how hard that can be on women, especially when they're not prepared for post-birth. But let's read the update and find out.
Since this is getting out of hand and I can't engage with everybody, the question is framed provocatively because this sub requires a clear conflict spelled out. No, I'm not looking to police my wife's phone time. What about the 8-hour shift, man? But directionally, I'm concerned with the balance between baby needs and self-care via doom scrolling. I'm not expecting 24/7 attention on the baby from my wife or myself. That wouldn't be possible or healthy, but I do think there is a time for naps and meals and independent play and active play, plus a need for passive supervision for safety reasons and soothing as required, and the conflict seems to be in where to strike the right balance. I'm not talking about neglect. Obviously, the baby is healthy and clean and well-fed and is hitting all the milestones. That doesn't mean, though, that she is getting sufficient face-to-face time, including reading, playing, singing, being held, etc. It might be a cultural or regional norm, but I wasn't even aware that sitting in the back with the baby in the car or letting them sleep in the stroller or outside can be weird to anyone. In any case, we are in agreement about that with my wife, so that's not an issue for us. Baby is happy with it too. I don't think crying it out is a legitimate parenting approach, and my wife doesn't think that it is either, but she ends up unintentionally using it if distracted by the phone, which, when I'm there, means I need to drop anything I'm doing to tend to the baby, or if I'm not there, results potentially inconsolably crying baby, which I'm not a fan of. The issue is really about when I'm not there, so what I'm doing when I am there might make it more or less fair, but won't fix it. That's the update, which isn't really an update, it's just an elaboration, I guess. So, back to you, take the Rooney. Thoughts?
I mean, how does he know? He said results potentially in an inconsolably crying baby.
So he's worrying about what could happen, not what is happening.
I mean, he doesn't know that that's what's happening. I mean, unless he's just watching a camera 24/7, and then if that's the case, what are you doing?
Or he's tracking screen time or something through an app. Which, if he's on high alert, right? He's on high alert for the safety of his child. That's his primary driver here. I get it. But he could be taking this too far from.
He doesn't know. And you know what? Maybe when he's home, she lets her guard down and has the ability to feel like she's not on the clock right in that moment. Obviously I don't know, but how on earth would he know that there's an inconsolably crying baby unless he's sitting at work watching her 24/7, which is in itself a problem. Like you're making an assumption based on what you see when you're with her.
Yes.
But
again, there's like extreme opposite ends here where he is. Yeah. He is like overly high alert, and if we take his account as anywhere near accurate for mom, she's under alerted because she's distracted, right? So they're on opposite ends here. No matter what, you have to approach this problem together. No matter what, find a solution, because right now you've done a really good job of focusing on problems.
Right.
What's the solution? And I don't think telling your wife that she has to commit to an 8-hour shift of phone-free time is going to go well, buddy. So what's the solution?
I mean, I do believe that phones are addictive. I think we all know that, but I think maybe some like couples therapy with the two of them communicating this with a neutral party would be helpful.
Yeah.
Because they both need to understand where each other is coming from.
Before you can find a solution, you've got to be able to communicate about it.
Yeah. But I think making assumptions are, like, unless he knows for certain that this is what's happening, making assumptions like this
I have a feeling
hurtful to their relationship.
I have a feeling it's more than assumptions, but he doesn't want to tell us how he knows. Because it's either checking in on cameras, like spot checking, or monitoring screen time, or, I mean, it'd be too easy for him in his heightened state of worry to not take advantage of those really easy to do things. So in that case, like, yes, you have to figure out how to find a common ground to communicate, and then it's solution focus. If it's the lack of adult interaction that is making her feel like she has to be here, because if she just does this, she feels like she's completely lost herself. Maybe there are some mom groups where she can get both at the same time, right? Maybe there are solutions for those kinds of things, but you have to be in a spot where you can talk about it together and not put all this on her. It's not just her. It's you guys as a team that are experiencing this and that need to overcome this.
Yeah. I mean, I see issues on both sides, so I do think it's an ESH for me.
I would agree.
And I was right with my first guess. Just kidding.
She's like, I was right with my first guess, so you, Tony Spark. Y'all. It is complicated no matter what, right? It's complicated and it's tough. And I think when you become a parent, like after that point of parents here understand, it's like it's really easy to lose yourself.
My back is sweating because that story made me uncomfortable.